Options Corner time. Welcome back to Market on Close. I'm Alex Coffey, now joined by Kevin Green. Kevin, a senior markets correspondent for Schwab Network. KG, good afternoon to you. Really nice rally once again as we look at these first couple trading days, last couple trading days of the month, continuing to bring bullish activity. What do you see on the technical front? What do you see in the flows?
Yeah, well, this is the second day where we also saw, negative pressure kind of coming into today, and then you saw a rally off the back of that. Now, what I will say is if you look at the intraday trend, especially on the 5-minute chart, we actually had a really strong trend pretty much for the majority of the day until we had this small little pullback here. But overall, you started seeing a lot more participation in this market as well. Not only just seeing the energy sector, which kind of caught a bid a little bit early, but then you started seeing information technology catching a little bit of a bid, as well as communication services. And so what you're seeing to the upside here, 59.75, 59.80 is actually the really key level here, Alex. We have over 111,000 contracts for the 0 DTE expiration for today at 59.80. So that's going to be a pretty decent wall to the upside here. But if we do see any type of break, I'm actually looking at 59.60, kind of a decent balance level. We also saw that as an area of support within this pullback that we had. Maybe a little bit of selling pressure just because of maybe some news flow that came out of the White House here. And then on the negative side, looking at 59.50. So overall, this is actually a really decent day. If we can close above 59.70, I think that's actually a really big win. If you kind of go back to the daily chart, you can actually see it. This has been an area of resistance for us. We've been in this wedge pattern for the last couple of actually last week or so here, where we have this wedge between 59.70 as your resistance, and then we have support like the 20-day moving average, the 200-day moving average, that trend line from the lows here, all kind of coming together. And so we're trying to have a breakout to the upside, trying to test that 6,000 level, and if we're able to close above that 59.70, I think that's going to be a really big win for the bulls for now. There's still some gaps to the downside that I'm still a little bit concerned about 2 gaps on the S&P 500. There's one that's really significant when you're looking at the futures contract here, but overall, this is actually a really decent setup. We do have some economic data that's kind of going to be coming out over the next three trading sessions here. So obviously, jobs data tomorrow with the ADP. We'll have initial claims on Thursday, and then the jobs report on Friday. So still a lot of economic data that could give us a little bit of volatility, but it seems like the market's really bracing for us to try to break out to the upside here.
Yeah, it really looks like it's being somewhat confirmed by many time frames and many indicators. KJ, I love this chart you have of the last, whatever it is, 6 months or so on the daily, where you break out of the wedge, momentum starting to pick up on both fronts. Despite the fact that it's come off maybe the overbought level, it's still remaining, well up there in RSI as well as MACD. Talk to me about this. I know it's one of your charts on here. Talk to me about this tech utilities ratio. We've talked about this before, and sort of the idea being utilities oftentimes play a defensive role in long-only equity portfolios. Tech is typically a growth position. So as that relationship and that spread changes, that can be indication of, maybe institutional risk on or institutional risk off. And you can see why it matters is look at that relationship between the S&P 500 and this utilities to tech ratio.
Yeah, and if you actually kind of look at that orange line, that tech to utilities ratio here, we still haven't broken out to the upside. So there's still maybe some room to go when you're looking at this ratio as a whole here. But you're right, this is actually a really decent leading indicator as you start seeing maybe utilities outperforming tech. That's usually when we see pullbacks in the market. Now, we did actually have that action taking place about a week and a half ago. We did see a little bit of a pullback, but we've obviously since then have been able to buy back this market. But that ratio still kind of says that we maybe have a little bit more room to the upside when it comes to the tech sector as a whole. And then if you complement this, and I don't have this chart, but if you complement this with the move in silver, I think that's also another risk on gauge, maybe an inflationary gauge that's being priced into the market, a global expansionary type of story that's also kind of complementing this move. So this is just kind of showing and reflecting that the S&P 500 is trying to break out. The tech utility ratio has still yet to break out to the upside. And I think that gives you a little bit more confidence that maybe we have a little bit more to go. I always want to just kind of highlight once again, there's still gaps to the downside that I still feel will be tested at some point in time. It just seems like the market's not really wanting to test them at this point. So until we actually start seeing maybe us hinging a little bit or getting more defensive in nature, utilities outperforming tech, staples outperforming tech. I think you got to play the trend, and the trend is still saying we have a little bit more of an upside move to go until we get to this top range at around that 6,000 level. And then we're only going to be around 200, 230 points, give or take, from all-time highs, which, we could, that would be in, a couple of trading sessions if we continue to have days like we are having today.
Infield singles, and you can get there at that point.
Right.
KG, appreciate it. I'll catch up with you at the closing bell 20 minutes or so from now, and we'll get some more thoughts